In the last harvest video, we had so many challenges and one of them was losing 300 pieces of fish. And I asked if you guys were interested in hearing about it, and some of you told me that you were interested. So this video is about the 300 pieces of fish that we lost and what we did to stop the mortalities. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name is Nefuno Kawe. I like to talk about fish farming, natural hair care, gardening, and everything in between, basically lifestyle in general. So if you are interested in those topics and you've been watching my videos, please make sure you click the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that you get notified each time I upload a new video. It will help me a lot. The harvest is a good part, but in the background, for you to reach the harvest, you would have incurred some losses and a lot of ups and downs. One of the ups and downs that we had was losing 300 pieces of fish in a space of 3 days. In the first day, we lost about 30. It could have been prevented, but because of remote farming, we had to lose 300 pieces. So before you go into remote fish farming, just make sure that you put things in place and you get to hear what we go through sometimes. Not everything is rosy as you see it in the harvest. So let's get into the video. I'm sure by now we all know that good water management practices are very important for our fish to grow or our fish to flourish in the pond. You need to make sure that your water is nice, light green in color, clear, no turbidity. You have to make sure that you bring in fresh water at kind of a drop or this angle to increase the oxygenation. And you also have to ensure that if you use the aerators to make sure that you back it up with the oxygenation and the temperature. Of course, there's nothing much you can do about the temperature. That is why in the cold season, our fish does not grow. That is another challenge that we have, but that's beyond our control. You need to also be on top of your game with your feeding practices, not to overfeed the fish, not to also overfeed the ponds. We don't want feed remaining this side. So you do your feeding nicely and slowly where you feed, observe. You feed by observation, actually. You feed by observation. When the fish is active, give it more. If it's not active, then don't feed, because the feed will end up collecting and then it will end up sinking. But there are sometimes you can use your judgment to say, okay, this little feed will finish, like in this case. Now, there are other times when you find the feed collecting, a lot of it collecting. This is bad because you end up poisoning the fish. Also, get into the habit of scooping out the debris, the dirt, including the feed in case you've overfed the pond. But then why would you want to overfeed the pond only to scoop out the feed? Feed is expensive, so there's no need for you to waste. If the fish is full, it will not eat it. Therefore, that feed must be scooped out, throw it away so that you do not poison the water. So get into the habit of cleaning your ponds. Besides, like right now, it's in the hot season, the fish eats a lot, the appetite is huge, so you find that it is also excreting a lot. That excretion adds to the over-fertilization of the pond. Sometimes you may be able to scoop it out if you're patient enough. Otherwise, you may just use water to clean it out by adding more fresh water. Of course, there are tools that you can use to monitor, but then the only gadget that we had was a thermometer, which was just basically checking the temperature, and the temperatures were low. So most of these other parameters would just use observation. Yeah, we would just use our eyes. Yes, we moved to the farm, but what happened was that I was heavily pregnant, and there was a point that I couldn't go to the fish ponds to go and monitor because it involves climbing the dikes and checking the water. So one day I decided to just brave it and just go and check to say, oh, it's been long. Let me just go and check on the ponds today. All the ponds had feed on them. They were looking dark green. We realized that he was doing that for some time. I started asking, why do we have feed floating? And then, don't you know that you're not supposed to overfeed the fish? He says, yes, from the training, I'm not supposed to. He then says that someone advised him that when you feed fish, put extra. Then the fish eventually will eat all the feed after an hour or so. But how do you know that the fish will have eaten, or maybe the feed has just sunk? Anyway, I was upset with him. By the way, we took him for training. We paid for his accommodation and his training. He was a very nice young man. That's how I told him to say, we could start losing fish. For all we know, maybe the feed has been now rotting. We are poisoning the water with the feed that is decomposing in the bottom. So anyway, that passed. I asked him to remove, so he cleaned out the feed. That was so annoying because the feed is expensive. The feed that was going to waste. I think that must have been on a Friday when we spoke. Then the following day, we decided to go and join them and do the sample weighing. And by the way, every fish farmer needs to get into the habit of sample weighing. You do that at least every 2 weeks. This enables you to monitor the growth of your fish, 1. 2, it also helps you to determine what type of feed to give and the quantities. Just like in babies when they are born, we monitor their growth by checking their weight, and also that weight enables us to determine what type of feed to give. For example, the first milk, let's say formula you give to a baby is maybe from 0 to 6 months, and then you have 6 months to 1 year, and probably 1 year to 3 years as your last stage. That's exactly what happens with the fish. So when you don't check the weight of the fish, it means you will be giving the wrong type of feed and you want to know the quantities to give. It's as simple as that. So if you want to know the details of how the sample weighing is done, please let me know in the comments down below. Back to our story. So for those that don't know, when fish dies, it floats to the top. So you start seeing white things on top. As we were sample weighing, we found 10 pieces floating. And so we asked the fish manager if he had noticed. Then he says, yes, I've noticed. So he removed the fish and we asked him, have you recorded? Then he said, I'll record. In talking, I don't know how it was mentioned that even before there were 6 pieces that had died. So we asked him where the pieces were. Then he said they had put them at his house. His house is very close to where the ponds are. So we're like, but why did you take them there? Have you recorded them? Then he says, yes, I've recorded. But there was no proof that he had recorded them. So anyway, we went our business. By the time we were finishing, we found more floating. So that was like about 20 pieces. Luckily, there was a gentleman who was fixing ponds. He whispered to us and said, actually, yesterday when I was fixing the ponds, there were a lot of mortalities, about 30. So when we asked him about the mortalities, he denied. He said, I recorded, but they were not 30. I believe 30 was just too much for him to just ignore and just record. He needed to inform us so that we see what we can do, because having 30 mortalities at a go clearly shows that there's a big problem coming. By noon, we had 100 mortalities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I had to speed it up as I continued counting. 9, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. More than 70. And the fish was still dying. We could see some of the fish, it was looking weak. It wasn't looking very active. It was coming to the top. Some of it was even gasping, and that's during the day. Normally, fish gasps at night. So this is a picture of the morning bubbles when the fish is gasping. But during the day, you don't see that much. decided now to remove the aerators from the other ponds and increase the oxygenation. But we saw that there was a bigger problem. We started adding fresh water. At the same time, we started draining the water. The numbers kept on increasing till we lost like 200 in that day. Then I just said, no, there should be a problem with this water and we can't resolve it because more and more fish is appearing to be weak. So we decided to just remove it, catch all of it and put it in another pond. We had another pond that was clean, which we were supposed to stock new fingerlings, but we decided not to bring in new fish. We cancelled. Following day, we found again 100 pieces dead. So we lost 300 fish in total. But when we moved to the other pond, there were no mortalities. I think we only had 6 mortalities from there, maybe because of movements, or maybe we even carried some fish that was already weak. So in total, it was 300 plus the 6 that was in the new pond. And then everything became normal. After having all these fish dead, you might be wondering the next step. We decided to take the fish for testing. We didn't know where to take it, but after consulting some people, they advised us to take to UTH, and then they did the tests: so feed, the water, and the fish. So in all the 3, when the results came, it showed that there was some poisoning, but the poisoning was more in the feed. Maybe there were some kind of pesticides or something. But then what was strange was that the same feed we were feeding in that pond is the same feed we were using in the pond that was right next to it, but the other pond was very much okay. So we really didn't understand that the 2 ponds that were right next to each other, one had mortalities and the other one did not have. We moved on, but then that test costed us a lot of money. I think it was about. So now imagine I've lost fish, and then I wouldn't want to lose Pacha just to go and test the fish that has already died, and you've managed to find a solution, you've moved on, and the fish has stopped dying. That's eating into my profit. But we had to, because it was a lot. So we needed to find out what the problem was, and we also needed to find out if we could eat the fish, because it was already the sizes that you could eat, and it was just too much. So we wanted to be sure if it was good for human consumption. So we started debating to eat or not. This brings us also to another question. Someone asked me what we do to the fish that dies. Normally when the fish dies due to turbidity and just the light things, we eat it. We normally eat it. You just lift the gills and just inspect it, and we see sometimes that it's dirty in the gills and whatnot. So that we normally eat it ourselves. But like the way it died in numbers, you wouldn't know whether it's poison or not. So that's why we had to hold on and take it for testing. But after that, anyway, we got to find out that you could take at Unza and somewhere near Bamora, but I don't really know exactly the place. So if you know places that can do testing for fish disease and whatnot, let me know in the comments down below. I'll really appreciate that. So maybe now we talk about the training. A lot of people have been asking me about where I did my training or when it's going to happen and whatnot. So I always put the details of the people that offered the training for me in the description down below. If you're not able to check in the description down below, then I'll also put on the screen. If you miss it, please rewind and check it, or just go to the description. So for details, the fees and whatnot, how to pay, please just get in touch with them. The numbers are on the screen and in the description down below. Even my contacts, my phone number and my email, I put them in the description down below. Then another interesting thing, I really did not know. Of course, people have been telling me that this channel has been helping them to start fish farming, and a few have even shown me videos of their fish and their ponds, just because of the little sharing that I do. I always say I'm not an expert, I'm also learning. So the more we go into it, the merrier, and it's important that we all get to share information. Yes, so there are several people that have gotten in touch with me who have started, but there is one particular particular guy who really touched me. I was really impressed. He told me that because of my video, he started fish farming. You know, starting fish farming, I won't lie, it's an expensive venture because of the demand for water, electricity, and the pond liners. So I really wasn't expecting the very young to start without support. This young man is under 20 years old, waiting to go to college or university. They're doing it with the brother. The brother is 21 years old. To see a young person who has not even gone to college start such a project and it's thriving because of my videos, I was really impressed. And this guy has not attended any formal training. So from my video and Google and other places, he's managed to collect information, and now he has started fish farming with the brother. I'm going to feature him on this channel in the next video to see how he managed to do it. This is to encourage the youth, since he has not done his training. If he's interested, we will facilitate his training with Breathing Fish Farm, all expenses paid for. So we are very excited, and this is what we want. I just wanted to mention that I'm so encouraged that the videos are really helping someone out there. So I'm encouraging other youths and females to take part in the fish farming. So this is it about our mortalities, the problems and the solutions we found, and a bit of some challenges that we face. This shouldn't discourage anyone. It's meant to actually encourage you. The idea is for me not to just be posting the good part, which is the harvest, which you saw in the last video. So the same pond that had these mortalities ended up giving us the amazing harvest which we had last time. So this is to encourage you, not to discourage you. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and watch out for the video for the new 19-year-old fish farmer. Thank you for watching, and bye. See you in the next one.